Good afternoon, everyone. We are the Group 5, and our topic for today is about the AGTA tribe. Let's now proceed to the discussion. So, AGTA tribe has a 6 subtopic. First is the ethnic identity, cultural lifeways, livelihood, social structure, environment and territory, government and NGO engagement. So first is the ethnic identity. So name origin, the word AGTA means human or person in many Philippines Negrito language. So the word AGTA means human or person in many Negrito language in the Philippines. So this show how they see themselves as people closely connected to the land and nature. For them, being AGTA simply means being part of the community, living freely, hunting and gathering from the forest that have been their home for the generation. So they are also known as ATA, ATA or ATI in different regions. But they all refer to the groups of indigenous Negrito people who share similar features, tradition, and ways of life. The only difference in name mostly depend on where they live. For example, the ATA is more common in Luzon while ATI is used in the Visayas. And AGTA are believed to be among earliest inhabitant of the Philippines. So scientists and historians describe them as the descendant of the first human who arrived in the island of the island 1,000 years ago. That's why they have unique physical features, which is yung skin color nila na dark brown to black skin. Tapos yung hair nila na curly or kinky hair. And yung height din nila is short compared sa nakikita natin ngayon. So these characteristics makes them easily recognized as one of the oldest ethnic groups in the country. So next is the subgroup. So the AGTA are not only just one single group, they are made up to different subgroups that live in various parts of the Philippines. This subgroup usually have their own dialect, costumes, and way of living depending on their location. Even though they share many traditions, each subgroup has a unique traits that makes them special. So first is one of the most well-known subgroup is the Dumagat AGTA, which is yung nabanggit last meeting. So they live along the Sierra Madre Mountain in Luzon. The Dumagat are known for being skilled hunter and gatherers, and they often travel from place to place near rivers and forests. Next is the Kasiguran AGTA, who lives in Aurora and Nervi provinces. They often found in near the coastal areas, which they rely not only on hunting but also on fishing for their food. We also have the Dianganan AGTA, who are found in Isabela province, like the AGTA groups. They depend on the forest for survival, collecting fruits, roots, and honey. And then they maintain a deep respect for culture and tradition dun sa nature. And another subgroup is the Tabangnon AGTA, who live in Bicol region. They have adapted to both forest and lowland life, sometimes trading with nearby communities while keeping their traditional lifestyle. Lastly is the Sorsogon AGTA, who live in southern Luzon. They are known for their close connection to the coastal environment, and they are also skilled in both fishing and handicrafts. So next naman is their location. The AGTA people are mostly found in northern and eastern part of Luzon, which is the largest island in the Philippines. They are widely spread across the several regions, especially in areas close to forests, mountains, and the sea. And the main places where they live is the Sierra Madre mountain ranges, which passes through provinces like Aurora, Quezon, Isabela, and Nueva Ecija. The Sierra Madre is known as the longest mountain range in the country, and it provides the AGTA with shelter, food, and natural resources. So they can also be found in Cagayan Valley region, where they live near rivers and forested areas. In this region, they often move from place to place depending on the season and food availability. Another area where some groups of Agta live is in the Bicol region. Here they usually found near coastal communities where they depend on fishing, gathering for seafoods and for their daily needs. Traditionally, the Agta live in both mountainous and coastal areas. Their lifestyle is closely tied to nature. They survive through hunting wild animals, fishing, and gathering fruits. They usually form small groups or camps that move from one place to another depending on where resources are available. So let's now proceed to the next subtopic.
Cultural lifeways. First, for cultural lifeways, we have the language. The Agta people speak a variety of mainly oral languages, often connected to Austronesian linguistic groups, and these languages are typically not written. Their modes of communication revolve around storytelling, everyday conversation, and singing, which serve as the primary means of transmitting cultural knowledge, history, and social norms. Because much of their tradition is passed down orally, the younger generation learns through observation and participation in communal life by listening to elders, recount stories, or guide them in practical tasks. Children absorb not just language, but also the worldview and moral values of their community. For the beliefs, the Agta maintain a deeply animistic belief system in which spirits inhabit both the natural world, such as forests, rivers, mountains, and animals, and the realm of ancestors. These spirits are not distant or abstract. The Agta see them as intimately connected with the living, influencing everything from health to fortune. Misfortunes like illness or bad luck are often interpreted as signs that a spirit may be displeased or neglected. To maintain harmony, the Agta perform rituals, make offerings, and consult shamans who mediate between the spirit world and the human community. Through these practices, the Agta navigate their understanding of a world that is alive with spiritual presence, and they reinforce social cohesion and respect for nature. Up next, we have rituals.
So about so So the Agta people have many rituals that show their strong spiritual belief and respect for nature. These rituals are important part of their daily lives and culture. So first is one of the most common is the healing ritual. This is led by babaylan or shaman who act as the tribe healer, spiritual guide when someone gets sick. The babaylan perform chants and prayer while using herbs, natural medicines. They also make offerings to the spirit because they believe that some illness are caused by unhappy or disturbed spirits. Next is the hunting rituals. Before going out to hunt, the Agta offer food, tobacco, or prayers to the forest spirit. They believe this will bring them good luck and protect them from harm while hunting. It also shows that their gratitude and respect for the nature, since hunting is the main source of their food. Also is the birth and death rituals. The Agta also have a birth and death rituals. When a baby is born, they perform a simple ceremony to welcome the child into the community and to ask for blessing and protection from the spirit. When someone dies, the tribe gathers to honor the person's spirit through song, prayers, and small offering. They believe these help the spirit travel peacefully and to the afterlife. Next is the spirit communication. The Agta believes that spirit exists in nature and around them. To communicate with the spirit, the Bailan or shaman leads ritual with chant, dances, and offering like food or tobacco. They do this to ask for guidance, healing, or protection for their tribe. Lastly is the community rituals. The Agta also hold community ritual to celebrate events like good hunt or harvest. During this gathering, they sing, dance, and share foods, which helps them to strengthen their unity and keep them alive. Next is the crafts. Basket weaving. Ito na dito yung picture niya, yung nigo, bayong. Yan yung mga example ng basket weaving nila. They created basket from rattan, bamboos, and nitu vines. They use this to carry food, fruits, and pag nakakahuli sila ng isda. Then, next naman is yung example ng mat, which is the banig. They weave mats using pandan or buri leaves, which are used for sleeping or as a floor covering. And yung fishing tools nila, which is the bubo, and that's from bamboo and abaca fibers. They use the nest from bamboo and abaca fibers for river and coastal fishing. Last naman is yung instrument nila na kubing. So they use bamboo float, mouth sharp, and drums made from Halloween logs and animal skin. Next presenter.
So next we have livelihood. The Agda tribe, they are hunt-gatherers and fishermen. They hunt wild animals like wild pigs, deer, and monkeys using bows, arrows, spears, and traps. They gather forest products such as fruits, yams, honey, and medical plants, which they use for food and healing. Fishing is also an important part of their life, using fish traps, nets, and bamboo spears along rivers or shores. The traditional house of the Agda tribe is called a lean-to or a simple temporary hut. These are portable and were suited for their nomadic lifestyle, built using light branches and palm leaves or banana leaves. Some Agta groups are now built more permanent structures, but the most traditional house type is the lean-to. Their homes are their homes are simple and temporary shelters made from bamboo, nipa, and palm leaves, allowing them to move easily when they need to find a new food sources. Next is Agta men usually wear loincloths or the bahag, while women wear wrap-around skirts, which is the tapis, made from woven fabric or tree bark. They believe in spirits that in nature called the Anito, which they honor through rituals, dances, and chants. When hunting or fishing, they ask the spirit for safety and success. Next, They have a babaylan or spiritual healer, performs rituals and uses herbal medicine to cure sickness. The AGTA community values sharing and equality. Everyone helps each other. And food is divided among all members of the group. Next is the modern shifts. Over the years, the Agda tribe has started to adapt to modern life due to contact with nearby towns and other groups. Many Agda families now in settled villages instead of moving from place to place. Some have built permanent houses using wood, metal sheets, or concrete, while, while they still fish or farm small plots of land. Others now work as laborers, farmers, or helpers to earn money. Education has also started to become important. Some Agta children now attend public schools, learning how to read and write, while others still face challenges in continuing their studies. The tribe has also adopted modern clothing instead of traditional attire, and they sometimes use tools and technology like cell phones and motorbikes. Despite this change, the Agta still try to preserve their tradition, songs, dances, and stories, especially during community gatherings. Some organizations and schools help them keep their language and culture alive while supporting them in learning modern skills. Next is the challenges they're facing. The Agda people face many serious challenges today. One of the biggest problems is loss of their ancestral land due to logging, mining, and farming by others. As forests disappear, they lose their main source of food, medicine, and shelter. Many Agta families are forced to live near towns where life is harder, and they struggle to find stable jobs or income. Poverty and lack of education remain major issues. Some children drop out of school due to distance, discrimination, or lack of money. The Agda also face health problems because they have limited access to hospitals or clean water. In some areas, they experience discrimination and unfair treatment from non-indigenous people. Their culture and traditions are slowly fading, especially among the youth who are influenced by modern lifestyle. Without enough government protection or land rights, the Agta's way of life is at risk of disappearing. So, next presenter.
For the social structure, first we have leadership. Among the Agta, leadership is informal and largely egalitarian. There are no centralized chiefs or rigid political hierarchy. Instead, decisions are made within nuclear family groups, and elders, especially respected older individuals, may provide advice or mediate in disputes. In some bands, an elder may be looked to for wisdom, but their authority stems from social respect rather than formal office. Conflicts are usually resolved through social pressure, persuasion, or in more serious cases, relocating to avoid ongoing strife. For the community life, the Agta live in small mobile bands of a few households, moving frequently according to resource availability. Their subsistence relies heavily on hunting, gathering, fishing, and some limited cultivation. And they live in simple shelters made from local materials like bamboo, grass, and bark. Kinship is organized through personal kindreds rather than formal clans, and social values emphasize harmony, trust, and cooperation. Their spiritual life includes belief in ancestral spirits, called anitos, and rituals often reflect their close relationship with nature and the forest. For their education, traditional AGTA education is largely informal and experiential. Children learn by observing and imitating adults in daily tasks like gathering, hunting, and fishing, rather than through formal schooling. While historically formal education was not prioritized, recent efforts by NGOs, community programs, and government initiatives have increased school attendance among the AGTA youth, though challenges remain due to poverty, mobility, and sometimes gender biases. To our next presenter.
For the environment and territory, the ancestral domain, the Agta people Asian homeland is not single, continuous location, but rather it is dispersed throughout the Philippines, with sizable population in Luzon, which includes areas like the Cagayan Valley and the Sierra Madre mountain range. The Agta Macbucon's ancestral grounds in Bataan, the Dumagat and Alta communities, sacred grounds of ancestral domain in the Sierra Madre, and the Agta tribes, 38,000 hectares tract in Bagao, Cagayan are example of specific ancestral domains. For the threats environmental, hazard like natural catastrophes and climate change, socioeconomic problems like losing their land and means of subsistence, and structural obstacles like social discrimination and lack of political representation are all danger to the Acta people. Since habitat loss from mining and logging intensifies, the effects of typhoons and landslide on local population, these risks are interrelated. For the natural disasters, the loss of protecting trees makes Agta settlements more susceptible to landslide, floods, storm surges, and also typhoons. For the climate change, their capacity to maintain their conventional means of subsistence is diminished by changing climate and the environmental harm it causes. Destroying their lands, their natural habitat, and the biodiversity they depend on it is made possible by logging, agricultural, encroachment, and other land conversion practices that are fueled by mining and infrastructure development projects. And lastly, land rights and displacement. Activities such as land tilting and extractive industries pose a threat to the Acta and ancestral lands, perhaps resulting in displacement and the destruction of their traditional way of life. For the advocacy, proper rights, securing agricultural and residential property for Agta, who frequently lack permanent land ownership. For the access to service, advocacy seeks to close the gap in access to essential services like healthcare, including support for mental health and nutrition, and education, including literacy and further education programs. Lastly, environmental protection. Activists strive to keep the Agta people ancestral grounds free from overfishing and illegal logging, two practices that endanger their way of life of food and security. For the next presenter,
Next is the government and NGO engagement. First, we have the legal frameworks. These are laws and constitutional provision that protects the rights of indigenous people or the IPS and indigenous cultural communities or ICCS in the Philippines. First, we have the Republic Act number 8371 or the Indigenous People Rights Act of 1997. This is the main law that protects the rights of indigenous people. It ensures that they have ownership of their ancestral lands, the right to self-governance, the right to maintain their culture, tradition, and practices, and equal opportunities in society. The RPRA law established the National Commission on Indigenous People, which implements and monitor IP-related programs. Second, we have 1987 Philippine Constitution. Several sections of the Constitution also recognize and protect the indigenous rights. First, we have the Article 2, Section 22. The state recognizes and promotes the right of indigenous cultural communities within the framework of national unity and the development, which means the government acknowledges that indigenous communities are part of the nation's identity and must be supported while promoting unity among all Filipinos. Second, we have the Article 12, Section 5. The state shall protect the rights of ICCS or IPs to their ancestral lands to ensure their economic and social, cultural well-being, which means indigenous people have the right to their traditional lands where they live, farm, hunt, or hold rituals. These lands cannot be taken from them without consent. Next is the Article 14, Section 17. The state shall recognize, respect, and protect the rights of indigenous people to preserve and develop their culture, tradition, and institution, which means their culture, languages, beliefs, and way of life must be respected and preserved through education, arts, and cultural programs. Next, we have the Republic Act of 9147, Wildlife Resources Conservation and Protection Act of 2001, which means this law protects wildlife and natural resources, many of which are found in indigenous lands, and help indigenous communities conserve biodiversity while using their natural resources responsibility. Next, we have the support frameworks. These are the government and the NGO programs that provide practical assistance to indigenous people for livelihood, education, and environmental sustainability. First, we have the Ancestral Domain Sustainable Development and Protection Program, or the ADSDPP, which means a plan made by and for the indigenous communities to manage and protect their ancestral domains, sustainability, balancing economic, which is cultural and environmental protection. Second is the Certificate of Ancestral Domain, or the CADT program. This gives the official land titles to the indigenous communities, providing their ancestral lands legally belong to them. It prevents outsiders or the companies from taking their land. Third, we have the Indigenous People Education, or the IPED program, an education program by the Department of Education, or the DepEd, that incorporates indigenous knowledge, language, and culture into a school curriculum to make learning more relevant for the indigenous people. Next is the Pantawid Pamilya Filipino program, or the 4Ps, a government cash assistance program for poor families, including indigenous people, to support their children's health and education. It helps reduce poverty and improve living conditions. Next is the Sustainable Livelihood Program, or the SLP, a livelihood assistance program that gives indigenous communities skills training, tools, and funds to start small business and community enterprises. Next is the Community-Based Forest Management, or the CBFM program, a program under the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or DNR, that allows indigenous and local communities to manage and protect forests while benefiting from sustainable resources use like tree or ecotourism. Lastly is the NGO initiatives, means non-government organization or the NGOs also provide additional support such as scholarships, cultural preservation projects, livelihood training, and health service for indigenous communities.
That concludes our presentation. Thank you everyone for listening and giving your time and attention. Once again, we are the Group 5. Have a great day and thank you.